All right, so here we go for today's lesson is all about the product life cycle. You saw these targets earlier in class, and so here's just another look at them. And again, if you need to take a moment and think about where you're at right now in terms of your ability to complete these things. So let's go ahead and get started. So let's go back to the example that we started class with, looking at a product that almost all of us are familiar with and probably use is the iPhone. We said when the iPhone was introduced in 2007, it was just that. It was introduced. Uh, Maybe even, there were some other smartphones on the market, but certainly nothing like the iPhone. Compare that to how the iPhone is being presented today, where the focus is much more on the features and the benefits of it, the design, all the capabilities that the phone has. Whereas if we go back to the introduction phase, it was really introducing and also educating people about what exactly this is. Wait, like I can play music on the same thing that I'm calling people on, and I can, access the internet from my phone. So really it was not only a revolutionary product, but a product being introduced to us for the first time. So what exactly is this product life cycle? It's the process that a product goes through from when it's first introduced into the market until it declines or is removed from the market. So every product will go through this cycle. Some will go through this cycle much faster than others. And some, it's not just the product, it's the industry that goes through the cycle. And the product is kind of a result of that. And so the four phases, the four stages that we have are the introduction, which we talked about with the first iPhone in 2007, growth, maturity, and then ultimately decline. Now, this life cycle looks or sounds or should sound somewhat familiar, where there is that early development and introduction phase that we go through. And then we have a growth phase. Most of us are kind of in that growth phase right now. We tend to mature at a certain point, and then there is also, unfortunately, the decline. Just like products, individuals will go through this cycle at different speeds and different stages or at different points in their life. So there's kind of a connection to it. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through each cycle, providing some examples, and then also give you instructions for your assignment. All right, so again, here's our product life cycle, and now we can look at it as a whole, all the way from development, all the way to decline. We're not going to spend a ton of time talking about development. We're going to more focus on that kind of development into the introduction phase. So what is happening in the introduction stage of the product life cycle? So what we can do is we can think about products that the prices are very, very high right now, probably because there's little or no competition. The demand has to be created. They almost have to generate, or they almost have to convince consumers. Consumers have to be prompted to try this product or this service. There's really no focus on making any profit at this point because there's probably little or no sales. Typically, the characteristics of this stage include heavy influence on advertising, but then also educating consumers. So an example that I thought of is a human spaceflight. Right now, SpaceX is partnering with NASA to make spaceflight possible for humans, similar to the way that airline travel would. Right now, it's incredibly expensive, but there's also a lot that's still unknown about this industry and about this service. So as you're going through this, start to think about, all right, so what are some products that are just being introduced right now? Maybe there's only one company that's doing it right now. And it's that thinking that, well, I don't need this product, but you know what? That would be something interesting that I would like to try. So that's an example of the introduction stage. So once the product is introduced, much like we are introduced and we start to grow, we enter that growth stage. And what happens in our growth stage is this is where kind of sometimes referred to as the takeoff stage. This is where the pump is getting primed, and this is where we start to see the acceleration of the product. Because the product is being mass produced, costs are being reduced. We see an increase in sales. We also start to see profitability. The product becomes a little bit more aware, a little bit more universal. But then there's also competitors that are entering the market. And then again, demand begins to accelerate and the size of the total market expands rapidly. So a couple examples that I thought of were the electric vehicle market. And then also streaming services, where this is really in the growth phase. We've all been introduced to these products. We might not own an electric vehicle, but we're being introduced to these products. And it seems like, every few months we see a car manufacturer entering the electric vehicle market. Ford is making an all-electric Mustang. Obviously, Tesla is continuing to evolve their vehicles, and the price is decreasing as well. Streaming services, before it was really kind of we had Apple TV and Netflix, but now we have companies like Peacock and the network driven streaming services, where if I wanted to watch a specific show that was only on a network, that network will have its own streaming service. So that's a good example of the growth stage. Now, when we get to the maturity stage, again, when most of us mature, costs are lowered as production volume increases. Again, we still see that it's being mass produced, so costs are low, but sales have kind of reached its peak, and we've reached this, what we call market saturation, where we've reached a point where there are a lot of people that have this product, but there is also an increase in competitors. And as a result of that, our prices tend to drop. What happens in maturity and saturation is that the product itself isn't really changing, but what we have to do is, or what the businesses have to do, is they have to emphasize diversification or differentiation to increase their market share. The demand kind of levels off, but only at the replacement and new family formation rate. We'll talk a little bit about what that means. An example that we talked about earlier was the iPhone. The iPhone 12 now is all about the features and the capabilities of this product. And every time a new iPhone comes out, it tries to do something a little bit different. The design looks different. The camera looks different. Now it's 5G, which is a big deal. Another product that's kind of reached its, I would say, maturity is the Toyota Camry. Toyota Camry annually is the number one selling vehicle in the United States. But the car itself hasn't really changed. It's still a car. Are they doing different things to it? Does the body and the design look different? Sure. So what are they doing to differentiate themselves? Well, now we're incorporating smart technology in the car. Maybe it'd have some self-driving capabilities, but for the most part, the Toyota Camry is still the Toyota Camry. All right, and then the last phase that we're going to see is what we call the decline stage. What happens in the decline is just that: sales, relative or over time, decline or stabilize. Maybe they've just kind of reached a point where we know we're not going to increase in sales. We continue to drop prices, but then that also impacts the profitability. And profit becomes a challenge because of production and distribution does not match the sales required in order to be profitable. The product begins to lose consumer appeal and sales drift downward. New products enter the market, or changes in consumer tastes and preferences. These are really interesting products to look at because we've probably seen in a short period of time, and you guys especially have seen products that have entered the decline phase. Think about Blu-ray DVD players and DVDs, typewriters, and family video. They've announced recently that they're closing a majority of their stores in Illinois. Okay, so what you guys are going to do for this assignment, which is going to be posted on Google Classroom, you're going to see two slides that will look very similar to the chart that I just took you guys through. But what you're going to do is you're going to think and you're going to identify a product that is in each one of these stages of the product life cycle. All right, and then what you're going to do is you're going to find an image of that product and you're going to place it in the appropriate stage. Now, much like we've done in the past, we want to make sure that our products look nice. So whenever I insert an image, I'm going to go insert an image and I can search the web. And let's say I'm just going to search for a product. And okay, I'm going to take this one and I'm going to bring it in. And let's say this product I think is in the introduction stage. I'm going to resize it a little bit. Okay, and then, much like we've done before, I want to mask that image with some type of design. It doesn't necessarily have to be a circle, could be a square, could be some shape, but we want some framework to that image. Okay. The other thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to insert a little bit of text with some information to support why. Did that just do that? With a little bit of information to support why is that specific product in the introduction stage. And then you'll repeat that for the different product in the growth stage, maturity stage, and decline. Okay. When you're done with that assignment, you're not going to turn it in quite yet because we're going to do one more thing with it once you guys have finished identifying your products. And let me know if you guys have any questions.